Hello, welcome back everybody. Today's sequence we will practice a sequence to help us release anything that no longer serves us, and we will begin in an easy seated position. So I've come to the edge of a block, you may come to the edge of a prop as well, or come to a comfortable seated position. And let's begin by bringing the backs of our hands down to our laps. And we'll go ahead and bring ourselves into a yoga mudra by bringing the tip of the pointer finger and the tip of the thumb to touch. And then again, bringing the backs of those hands to rest out on our lap. So go ahead and make sure that you're in a comfortable position. Your hips are pressing into the floor so that our spine is long. Here you'll slowly draw your chin in just slightly towards our chest, giving ourselves a little bit of a double chin, helping us to lock the throat. We'll go ahead and close our eyes and begin by taking a couple of long, full, deep breaths. As you settle in this space, continue to observe your breath. Just like we always do, noticing the depth, the pathways, the temperature, the texture, all those qualities of our breath, helping us better understand what's going on in the body, what's going on in the mind, how we're feeling as we come onto our mat this week. And as you continue to concentrate on the breath, let's now shift our attention into the physical body. So beginning at the crown of the head and slowly working our way down. Begin to scan through the body and notice each part of the body. That part feels good, it feels sore, feels achy or tired. Slowly begin to work your way through the body to discover how you're feeling as you come onto your mat. Taking your time to get there. Once you've completed that full body scan, let's return to the breath. Here, we're going to set an intention to allow something to fall away that has been needing to shift in your life. Embrace that change that is inevitable and allow some letting go to happen during your practice. Continuing as we move forward, one more breathing exercise as we begin to transition into our practice. This time we're going to open mouth and breathe in and out like we're fogging up a mirror. So go ahead and open the mouth. Take a couple more deep breaths here and feel the breath pass through your throat, hearing the sound it makes. When you're ready, you'll close your mouth and continue to breathe through your nose now, but trying to make the same sound and feeling the same sensation in your throat. Make your inhale and exhale about 3 counts each. Both inhale and exhale sound the same. When you're ready, you'll go ahead and find a rhythm of breath that you can carry with you throughout class. Maybe you continue with that ujjayi breath, which is what we just practiced, that breath of victory. We can hear the audible exhale as a reminder, as a signal for us to notice what's going on in the breath and the body as we practice. Or maybe just returning to a slow, steady breath that will help calm the parasympathetic nervous system and help move us through our practice. And nice and slowly go ahead and remove that yoga mudra, and we'll go ahead and extend the legs long, maybe coming off of the prop or staying on that prop, your choice. Now with the legs nice and long, make sure that you're rooted through both sit bones. Sitting nice and tall, inhale, draw the arms out and up. Pressing the backs of the legs into the mat, flexing the toes up, go ahead and forward fold. Try and keep a nice flat back though in your forward fold. And slowly begin to breathe into those tight hamstrings, the backs of the legs, behind the calves, the ankles. Bringing the breath into those places of discomfort and resistance. Just nice and slowly beginning to warm up the lower body through our warm-up exercises. Let's take 5 more deep breaths, moving nice and slowly to work into the body. So today's practice, letting go of anything that no longer serves you. Yoga is all about getting rid of the negative and embracing the positive. The idea of non-possessiveness means letting go of anything that no longer serves us or what we've outgrown. So maybe a job, a relationship, a sense of identity, or even old attitudes and beliefs that prevent us from moving forward. Non-possessiveness teaches us to live life in a centered way, rooted in our inner reality, not being dependent or clinging to others or expecting them to make us happy or feel fulfilled. Slowly begin to stack the vertebrae, coming back up to a seated position. Now we'll leave the left leg where it is and we're going to bring the right leg in. Here we'll grab for the ankle or maybe the outside of the feet, whichever is more accessible. We'll keep the left hand rooted on that left side to keep it anchored down, and then we're going to find some leg pumps here. So slowly using this to begin opening up the hips. So in order to release what no longer serves us, we're going to build a little bit of heat in today's class. Remember that when we build heat, we're focusing on that third chakra, and we build the heat so that we can eventually burn out any of the debris, burn out what no longer serves us, and then allow us to replace it with what is productive and makes us feel harmonious. Now we'll take this leg pump here, this half happy baby, and we're going to go ahead and bring that leg across the body. We're going to bring the right foot into the left elbow, and if we can, we'll reach the right arm around. If that's not accessible, then we'll just find a bind somewhere else, and we're going to swing side to side. Again, left leg stays rooted, sitting up as tall as you can, and feel that momentum, that lubrication come into the hips. Continuing here, though, with that long, steady breath that we found. Doing our best to stay present on our mats, focusing on the intention, letting go of anything that no longer serves us. Good. Now we're going to take that leg in the same position and we'll place the inside of the right foot onto the inside, or I'm sorry, the bottom of the right foot to the inside of the left leg. Here we'll sit up nice and tall. And now we're going to turn the sternum, turn the midline over that left leg. So if I'm centered, it's not quite right over the left leg. So I'll turn my body just slightly, nice long spine, taking an inhale. And then an exhale to release. Let's fold over that left leg, holding on to the shin, the ankle, maybe to the bottom of the foot, just making sure that the back remains nice and flat, shoulder blades long. Big deep breath here. For me, I feel that physical sensation in my lower right back. For you, it may feel different, but close your eyes, use your breath, and tune into what's happening in your body. We'll stay here in the discomfort for 3 more cycles of breath. At the end of that third exhale, slowly begin to stack the vertebrae. Good. Now using our hands, we'll bring that right foot up just slightly and we're going to bend through the left leg, coming into bound angle pose. Same thing, inhale to lengthen that spine and then exhale to fold. Flat back, maybe using the elbows to encourage the knees down, opening through the hips. Two more cycles of breath. At the end of that second exhale, slowly begin to stack the vertebrae. Good, and now let's extend that right leg straight. We'll go ahead and lift up the left leg. Right hand will root onto the top of the right leg for support, and we'll find some single leg pumps here. Half happy baby pose. So thinking about this position, happy baby we come to traditionally on our back, grabbing for the outsides of our feet, drawing the knees down towards the earth and making sure the ankles stack over the knees. We also come to this position in squat pose, so I think that's what we did last week in the restorative practice. All the focus to open up the hips. Good, now let's go ahead again and cross that left leg, bringing the left foot into the right elbow and wrapping around for some type of bind here as we continue to press the right leg into the mat and swing from side to side. Excellent. Go ahead and carefully drop that left leg down to the ground. Same thing here. Right leg comes directly out from the hip. I'll go ahead and bring my midline, my sternum a little bit over that right leg, taking an inhale to lengthen, and then an exhale to fold here. We'll take 3 more cycles of breath, focusing on where you feel that sensation, bringing the breath into those pockets. At the end of that exhale, slowly begin to work your way up. And now this time, using the hands to help guide the legs, we'll separate the feet nice and wide. Make sure that the feet are flexed, backs of the legs are pressing into the mat. Let's inhale, draw our arms out and up. And then exhale, forward fold. Once again, make sure that the back is nice and flat, shoulder blades plugged in, reaching the hands down the center, maybe grabbing for ankles, maybe grabbing for big toes. Focusing here on the backs of the legs and the inner thighs. Big, deep breaths. So according to yoga philosophy, thoughts relate to the waves of mental chatter or activity habitually traversing the mind's eye. The practice of yoga is intended to sharpen awareness of and soften these waves, thereby resulting in an embodied awareness of the deeper self and cultivating a more harmonious, loving, and pure orientation to oneself and the external world. In the practice of yoga, even negative thoughts are observed as they arise and pass with compassion and non-judgmental awareness. Paradoxically, when the inevitability of these negative thoughts is accepted rather than suppressed or avoided, awareness of universal nature of negative, unwanted thoughts is bestowed. When humanity and fallibility are recognized objectively and with kindness through these practices, identification with such thoughts naturally begins to soften as self-knowledge increases. This long-term process, the short-term process, we record intentions, positive thoughts, and release what does not serve us, our negative thoughts. It may be helpful. We'll take 2 more cycles of breath here. The end of that breath, slowly begin to work your way back up. Good, now using the hands once again, we'll encourage the legs together and we'll swing those legs around, coming into tabletop pose. Of course, once you get to tabletop, make sure that the wrists are under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. We'll take a nice deep breath here in tabletop. And as you exhale, round your back. Drop your tailbone towards your heels and your chin to your chest. As you inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, crown of the head comes up. Exhale, rounding through cat. Inhale, lifting in cow. Continue now with the flow of your breath, warming up the spine, finding that flexibility, shaking off the cobwebs, linking our breath with movement. Go ahead and find 3 more cycles of cat and cow. And then we'll return back to a neutral tabletop. We'll find some hip circles. So let's begin by moving in a clockwise position, just drawing circles with our hips. Depending on how open those hips feel or how mobile the body feels, the circles may be big or small. Here, linking breath with movement is more important than the circumference of those circles. So make sure that you are inhaling as you move from 12 to 6 and exhaling as you move from 6 to 12. Find one more rotation going clockwise. And then reverse, coming from 12, inhaling down to 6, passing through 3 on the exhale and returning back to 12. One more rotation for yourself. Good. Now from here, let's center that left leg a little bit. We're going to extend the right leg back. We're going to push through the sole of that right foot, trying to keep all 5 toes planted in the ground, stretching once again through the back of the leg, but this time we're focusing a little bit more on the back of that calf rather than the back of our thigh or our hamstring. Try and keep the hips nice and square. Keep energy reaching out through the sole of the foot. Strong belly pulled in. Nice big deep breath. Last deep breath here. And we'll switch. Switching the right leg where the left leg was, and now extending that left leg out once again. We feel the toes of all of that foot pressing into the mat. Our hips stay nice and square. We stretch to the back of the left leg. Big deep breaths here. Last deep breath. Good. Now let's separate the knees nice and wide. Bringing the big toes together. Sink the hips back. Couple long deep breaths in child's pose. Go ahead and take 2 more deep breaths here. At the end of that second exhale, slowly begin to shift the weight into your hands, tuck your toes under, and we'll send the hips up high for downward dog. Couple deep breaths in downward dog. To walk our dog, to feel those hips get nice and high. Feel some heat begin to build in our shoulders, drawing that navel in. Slowly bend the knees, look at the space between your hands, and travel up to the top of your mat and forward fold. Dangling here in forward fold, we'll ragdoll our arms, grabbing for opposite elbows, allowing the head, neck, and shoulders to hang nice and heavy. Thinking about rooting through the soles of our feet, balancing the weight between the ball of the foot and the heel of the foot. Taking a couple big, deep breaths here to open up the backs of those legs and release anything, any tension, any holding, any gripping in the upper body. Go ahead and switch the crossing of your arms, continuing to ragdoll them, staying in this position. When you're ready, place your hands on your shins and inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lifting halfway up. Exhale, fold. One more time, inhale, lift halfway up, heart forward, flat back. Exhale, fold. Root through your feet, inhale, rise. Arms reaching out and up. Exhale those hands down in front of your heart. Good, let's pause for a moment before we move forward. Leaving those hands in front of our heart. Standing nice and tall. The eyes closed. Rooting through the soles of our feet. And feeling the breath within our body. Steadying that breath. Returning back to our intention. Good, now moving nice and slowly, flutter the eyes open, and let's begin to warm the body so that we can prep for our poses. Standing nice and tall at the top of our mats, inhale, draw those arms out and up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to fold. Plant the hands, send the feet back through plank. Holding a nice strong plank here, we'll lower through chaturanga. Inhale, lift in cobra. And then tuck the toes, send the hips up high. Taking 2 deep breaths in down dog. At the end of that second exhale, bend your knees, travel up to the top of your mat. When you get there, inhale, lift halfway, and exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, arms sweeping out and up, and exhale, down in front of our hearts. One more time with cues. Inhale, reaching the arms out and up, and exhale, fold forward. As you inhale, lift halfway up, and exhale, fold. Plant the hands, send the feet back through plank. Slowly lower through chaturanga. Inhale, lift in cobra. Exhale, tuck the toes, 2 deep breaths and down dog. At the end of that second exhale, bend your knees, travel to the top of your mat. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise, arms reaching out and up. Exhale, hands down in front of your hearts. Good, now one more time, moving with the flow of your breath, sun salutation 8. Again, once you get to the top of your mat, let's reset like we did before those sun salutations. So nice and tall, hands rested at our hearts. Taking a couple big deep breaths, returning to our theme. Releasing anything that no longer serves us. Good. When you're ready, let's slowly open the eyes. We'll bring our hands down to our hips and we'll move through these couple of peak poses. So these peak poses are sequenced with the intention of building a little bit of heat, of creating a little bit of discomfort so that we can find our breath through that discomfort and we can transform. We can release whatever no longer serves us. So let's start out with a balancing pose, a tree pose. We'll shift our weight into our left leg. We'll come on to the toes of that right foot. Make sure that you're grounded through the left foot. The left foot is and the left leg, that's our engine leg. That's what's going to help keep us standing. So then we'll pivot that right knee out. We open the hips, so we want to get that right knee out as much as we can. And then we'll find a landing spot for that right foot. Maybe it's rested on the ground. Maybe it's on our thigh. Maybe it's a little bit higher onto, our thigh or our calf. Just make sure that you're not resting on a joint. And once you get there, find a drishti, something that's not moving, and listen to the breath. Full deep breath here as we work on balance and strength. Hands can stay on our hips to keep them nice and square. Maybe we begin to grow our branches. Bringing the arms out tall. We can frame the head. We can bring hands together overhead or hands together in front of our hearts. Tuning into what's happening in the body as we build that heat and call on lots of strength and energy, getting us in good alignment in tree pose for 2 more cycles of breath. At the end of that second cycle, we'll go ahead and release the foot from the leg and slowly bring that right foot back down to the mat. Good. Setting up the same way we did the first time. So bringing our hands to our hips. Lifting up that left leg as we anchor into the right foot. I like to lift up my toes on whatever the standing leg is so that I have a nice wide foundation of stability and rooting. And then I'll find a spot for that left foot as I open up that left hip. Wherever you're at, looking at something that is not moving in front of you, and finding full deep breaths, hands staying on the hips, or maybe growing our branches, doing our best to remain on that one leg, continuing to pull strength up from the earth, a nice long spine, keeping the breath flowing through this balancing pose. Good. Take 1 more cycle of breath here. Calling on all of our strength, and then exhale, release. Perfect. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and separate our feet nice and wide. Our toes are going to point out, our heels will point in, and we'll use that track for the knees to follow. We're going to come into Goddess Squat. We've practiced Goddess Squat before, but this time we're going to practice with some power. So we're going to hold Goddess Squat for 2 10-second rounds, or 10 breath rounds, I should say, not 10 seconds. So we're gonna try and build a little strength here. So as we come into Goddess Squat, your goal is to hold for 10 cycles of breath. If you can't quite get there and you need to straighten the legs, then go ahead and straighten, and it's something that we'll continue to come back and work on. So I'll place my hands on my hips to make sure that the hips stay nice and square, and I want to make sure that the hips come back so that my knees aren't tracking in the wrong direction. When you're ready, we'll slowly lower ourselves down, trying to get the thighs parallel with the earth below us. So make any little adjustments you need to find a comfortable position, working to get the shoulders above the hips. And then we'll take our 10 cycles of breath, placing the hands wherever you feel most comfortable and centered, closing the eyes, and again, breathing through that discomfort. We're building fire, building heat to try and remove any debris, remove what doesn't serve us, creating space for new ideas and new relationships. Taking that last cycle of breath, slowly straightening through the legs. Good. Let's heel toe those feet back in, stretch out, finding a little bit of movement here. All right, we're just coming through one more time. So however long you were able to hold that pose, that first round, let's try and get 1 additional breath in there. And when you're ready, we'll separate the feet. If the external body begins to shake, just observe that and do your best to continue to hold this pose. When you're ready, once again, Goddess Squat for 10 cycles of breath. At the end of your 10th breath or wherever you're at, slowly begin to straighten the legs, heel toe those feet back towards one another, and once again, find some movement back into the legs. Good. All right, 2 more challenging peak poses before we cool ourselves down. Both are done in a prone position. So let's start by coming into tabletop pose. All right, next we're going to come into a forearm plank. So from tabletop pose, let's move our way onto our forearms. So the forearms will be parallel with one another, fingers spread nice and wide. And once you get there, we'll go ahead and tuck our toes, press our heels back, and engage our legs, making a straight line from our heels to the crown of our head, almost rounding the back a little bit here to make sure that our arms are engaged. Pull our navels in, and if you need to do this with your knees on the floor, that's perfectly fine as well. You'll immediately begin to feel the body warmed up. Keep your focus on your core and stay concentrated for 3 more cycles of breath. At the end of that 3rd exhale, return back to tabletop pose. Separate the knees nice and wide, and go ahead and sink your way back for a couple cycles of breath to reset in child's pose. All right, let's come through one more time. So return back to tabletop pose. Here we'll drop the forearms down, spreading the fingers nice and wide, then tucking the toes, kicking the heels back. We'll try and find 5 cycles of breath in forearm plank. Good. At the end of that 5th exhale, let's return back to a tabletop, and then we'll prepare for our final peak pose, which is lizard. So we'll bring that right leg up towards the top of the mat, but we'll bring it into the right corner. So both hands are to the inside of the right leg. Lizard pose is a deep stretch for the inner hips. So here we can stay exactly in this position with the left leg extended behind us on our hands. We can also take this pose back down to our forearms, so either reaching the floor or a prop beneath you. And we can also make this pose active, so if you feel like you have a little bit more heat to burn within the body, we can tuck the left toes under, send that knee up nice and high, and breathe through now what is an inner hip stretch as well as stretching out the left hip flexor. So find what suits you best today and find 5 cycles of breath. At the end of your 5th exhale, return that knee back down if it's lifted. We'll send the right foot back to meet the left in tabletop pose. Again, maybe hip circles will feel good here, or leg pumps. Just working our way into the hips. And when you're ready, let's move on to the second side. So sending that left foot up to the top left corner of our mat. Both hands to the inside of that left leg. Beginning to lunge forward here, staying on the hands, maybe moving to the forearms. And once again, option to lift up that right knee, finding 5 cycles of breath. At the end of that 5th cycle, once again, coming out of the pose nice and slowly and finding movement. Good. From here, you're going to come all the way down onto your belly. And let's go ahead, come down to the forearms here. We're going to take the right leg and we're going to slide it up the mat or alongside the mat. And then we're going to anchor the right hand because we'll send the left arm underneath, threading the needle, grabbing for that right knee, and then rotating onto our backs. So coming into a reclined spinal twist, gaze may be over those right fingertips, full deep breath. Go ahead and take one more deep breath here. Slowly unwind, sending the right hand back down to the mat, releasing the left, sending the left foot back to meet the right. Good, we'll come to the second side here. So crawling that left leg up the mat, anchoring the left hand as you reach the right arm through, holding on to that left knee and rotating down onto your backs for once again reclined spinal twist. Work to get the shoulder blades to plug into the mat and find full deep breath up and down that spine as we bring out our practice. Taking one more cycle of breath here. And now this time, at the end of that cycle, we'll release the right hand from the left leg. We'll wiggle our way back to the center of our mats, where we'll draw the knees in towards our chest and gently sway from side to side. With nice open hips, we'll find our way into happy baby, grabbing for our shins, our ankles, or maybe the outsides of our feet. Pressing those feet up towards the ceiling, pulling down those feet with our hands, keeping the ankles over the knees, gently rocking from side to side or finding stillness. Breathing in this symmetrical pose as we close out our practice. When you're ready, gently release happy baby, extending the legs long on the mat, allowing the feet to fall open, arms resting at our side, some length in the back of the neck, softness in the face, and releasing into our final pose of Savasana. When you're ready, slowly begin to deepen your breath. Find movement into your fingers and your toes. Begin rolling in your wrists and your ankles. And when you're ready, go ahead and bend your knees and roll onto the right side of your body where you will pause in the fetal position. Every season is a reminder that nothing lasts forever. Everything is a moment of creation and destruction, but all are equally beautiful and majestic in nature. All seasons have their reasons, and if one season decided to stop happening, the rest of the earth would go out of sync. Honoring change is vital for our deeper understanding of ourselves. We too must change and let things fall off and regrow in order to help us evolve as humans. When you're ready, help yourself up to a comfortable seated position on your mat, and let's meet with our hands together in front of our hearts. Calling forth new possibilities and new love, we'll bring our hands together as they are in front of our hearts, but we'll open up the fingertips. So opening up the pinky, the middle finger, and the index finger to no longer touch as we bring the palms, the bases of our hands coming together. Everything resting at our heart center. Feel that blossom open up through our hands, extending all the way through the tips of all 10 fingers. This mudra is inspired by the lotus flower. As we hold our hands together in front of that heart chakra, let's practice an affirmation to close our practice. So quietly repeating to yourselves or internally after me. I open my heart space, and I am inviting of loving vibrations. I am able to let go of hurt, to forgive myself and others. Love fills my heart and heals me. I love deeply with a genuine passion and trust. I radiate with the essence of pure love. We'll close up that mudra. And it's with gratitude that I close this practice by saying, Namaste.